What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 85 of the Silver and Gold podcast. I'm Josh,
And I'm Mike.
and today we've got maybe a less exciting episode because both our teams lost. But I already see Will is front and center, ready for this. I guess maybe Mike. I don't know if you're going to be ranting much, but I definitely have my notes for both teams a little bit. But Will's tuning in. He says, "Yo, Will. What is up, man? Welcome back." I do want to also mention that for the past couple of episodes, I have been having a little bit of technical difficulties with my camera and my computer. So just kind of bear with us. I think I probably fixed the issue with the camera, but the issue with the camera, I think, spawned from my resolution of the issue with my computer crashing. So right now, I opted to go with the possibility of my computer crashing um, in order to solve the camera problem. So if we crash, we're going to be right back on air with a part 2 of this episode. But if we don't crash, we're hoping to get out of here in an hour and a half. But yeah, Will says, let's get this therapy session going. That's a perfect segue into our first topic, the 49ers versus Jaguars. So, Mike, the 49ers lost a winnable game against the Jaguars at home on Sunday. Were you able to watch any of the game, or were you kind of locked in on the Raiders?
Yeah, I was preoccupied with the Raider game, but I would say that both of our teams would like to just return some videotapes this week.
Yeah, definitely. And I would think that maybe John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan would like to return, or would like Brock Purdy return some contract money too. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. The final score was 26-21 Jaguars. And, to put it very simply, the 49ers lost this game, off of turnovers and special teams. So nothing new for the 49ers in terms of the special teams part. There's quite a bit to unpack here. So I guess I'm going to start by reviewing how the 49ers performed when, thinking in the scope of the keys to the game that I provided them, going into the week. So my first key was to pressure Trevor Lawrence. The 49ers did not register a sack, nor did they even hit Trevor Lawrence. The absence of Nick Bosa was definitely felt in this game. Key number 2 was to limit the Jaguars' rushing attack. The 49ers did not stop the run as they gave up 174 rushing yards. Travis Etienne had 19 carries for 124 yards and a touchdown. Key number 3. My third key was for them to keep feeding Ricky Pearsall, but also expand the passing game. The Niners were able to feed Ricky Pearsall were unable to feed Ricky Pearsall due to him leaving the game because he hurt his knee, and I don't even see him playing in this upcoming game against the Rams because it's on a short week. But before he left, he had 4 catches for 46 yards and made a really nice one-handed grab as he was going to the ground. It's kind of an underthrown ball by Brock Purdy. But as far as expanding the passing game, they did get the other pass catchers involved, or at least got other pass catchers involved, where obviously McCaffrey was McCaffrey. We'll talk about him more in a minute. Jake Tonjes had 3 catches for 58 yards and a touchdown. Kyle Juszczyk had 3 catches for 32 yards. Jennings had 2 catches for 24. Luke Farrell had 2 catches for 20. Kendrick Bourne had a catch for 17 yards. And he had an ugly drop or two. It was not the best day for Kendrick Bourne, and it was frustrating. Were you going to say something, Mike?
No.
No? Okay. Key number 4, which was more of a goal, like a long-term goal, as opposed to actually like winning the game against Jacksonville. But my key was to lighten the load off of McCaffrey by letting Robinson Jr. or even Isaac Guerrero get some touches. They lightened the load a little bit by going from giving him 27 touches to 23. So maybe those 4 touches are what they needed to win, because the 49ers found themselves on the other side of a close one. Obviously, I'm kind of joking, but who knows? Maybe the magic number is like, somewhere in between the 49ers can pull out a close victory. They just have to force feed McCaffrey. But it just begs the question, what would this team do without McCaffrey? Brian Robinson had 5 carries for 21 yards, and there was no Isaac Guerrero. Is he still on this football team? Does he still play offense? Like, I know he's still on special teams, I think, but, I would like to see him a little bit more involved because he is a pretty good athlete. I do also want to address the turnovers. The 49ers had 4 turnovers, and 3 of them were Brock Purdy's. I want to say that one of the fumbles was from Luke Farrell. Purdy had 2 interceptions and a fumble that he lost, which sealed the game for the Jaguars at the end. The first interception was too high for McCaffrey, and then it was tipped and picked off by one of the many defenders in the area. Personally, I didn't really mind the decision, but the pass was inaccurate. So that was an issue for Purdy all game because the passes that he was throwing were like all pretty high. He was sailing a couple passes, and in football, when you're throwing a lot of high passes over the middle, you're going to throw more interceptions, and you're going to get your receivers murdered. So Pearsall wasn't the only receiver who was pretty banged up after this game. And also, Pearsall was banged up going into the game, but so was Juwan Jennings, and he got banged up during the game too, so we'll see if he plays on Thursday. The second interception, though, it was just an awful decision. Purdy didn't really see the linebacker. He practically threw it to him. I saw some people, obviously on Twitter, making excuses for Purdy, saying that it got tipped, but I think it was pretty obvious that it was going to get intercepted either way. The fumble is not just on Purdy, as the offensive line also deserves some blame for it. But Purdy needs to be more protective of the football, especially knowing that he's being pressured. I think Purdy could sense the pressure, and so he was like, kind of. It looked like he was looking down the field to make a play, but he needs to protect the ball. Overall, the turnovers made this game a rough game for Purdy, but also it was one of the main reasons why the 49ers could not pull out this game. Purdy now has toe soreness, so I'm not sure that he's going to play on Thursday against the Rams, but I'm not really even sure that he should. This is now the second game that Brock Purdy has played this season, and the second game this season where he's turned the ball over multiple times, and it's hurting the team. It brings me back to the whole contract situation where I would kind of go back and forth on how I felt about it. And I think that the 49ers should have exercised a little bit more patience, and especially they should have felt like they had a little bit more leverage because they signed Mac Jones, and that was a quarterback that I think Shanahan felt really comfortable with, and from all the reports wanted to draft originally. I guess allegedly, because it's, Shanahan would never admit it, but all the reports, like Mike Silver says, he was pretty adamant. I think Mike Silver said it, that Mac Jones was going to be the pick. Everybody was locked in on Mac Jones being the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft. But I don't know. I felt like the 49ers kind of jumped the gun on extending Purdy. And now what happens if Kyle Shanahan feels that Mac Jones is the better quarterback on the roster? We know from the past that Kyle is no stranger to thinking that his backup quarterbacks are better than the starter. In Purdy's rookie year, Shanahan has been on record literally saying that he thought that Purdy was the best quarterback on the roster in training camp. And Purdy was the 3rd string quarterback, actually just fighting for a roster spot, right? And so he had Jimmy and Lance ahead of him. It's pretty clear why they went with Lance and Jimmy, but that's just something to kind of keep in mind. We also know that Kyle, like I said, does really like Mac Jones, And we also know that Kyle doesn't care much about how much you're being paid because Jimmy Garoppolo was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, and they still traded 3 firsts and a third in order to go up and get a quarterback. And then they had Trey Lance, and they put all that draft capital into him, and they didn't care. They went with Jimmy Garoppolo. They went with Brock Purdy. Um, yeah, I'm not saying that Mac Jones is better than Brock. I still think that Brock is better, but from the sample size that we've gotten this season, I do question how much better, and if I'm just wrong, and maybe Mac is actually the better player, and he was just in poor systems to begin his career. This team, I still think is Brock Purdy's team until further notice, but it is something interesting to keep an eye on as the season progresses. And I mean, Mike, my question for you is what would the 49ers even do if Brock, what would they do with Brock if Mac just is the better quarterback in Kyle's eyes?
I mean, we've seen this before with Brock Purdy and Trey Lance, right?
Yeah.
Heavily invested, and then you realize at some point that, the backup is better. And if we want to win games right now, which I'd say you guys are still in a win now mode, you're 3-1,
Yeah.
But especially back when Lance was with the team, like that was your kind of your roster's peak, if you will. And the decision was made, right? The tricky part here is financial, right? Because all of the investment in Trey Lance back in the day was already paid up, draft picks. It's done. Whereas Purdy's investment is future assets, future money, right? And that creates more difficulty with making any sort of change. It's tough. I'm curious how his contract looks relative to being traded, because I'm sure there are at least some teams out there that would absolutely, dance with the idea of trading for Purdy. But maybe because of the cost of the contract, does that drive down the price? Do you guys at best get a third round pick? Depending on what year in the contract it is.
Would you want the Raiders to trade for Purdy right now if you had the chance?
To be honest, no. Mostly because, again, it kind of depends on the contract. Because there's a possibility that the Niners are, kind of cap-stricken with him in the sense that even if you trade him, you guys are paying like half the salary every season or something,
Yeah.
Kind of like when, in a different way, but when the Broncos got rid of Russell Wilson, like they were essentially still paying him $40 million a year as dead caps hits. And he was, he went and got a bare minimum contract with the Steelers because of that. Because he was getting paid either way. But through a trade it'd be different. But no, I think the main reason I'd say no, this is probably a dumbass answer, but just I guess the mathematician in me or whatever. I can't help but think that in the next 2 years, because it was a 5-year deal for Purdy?
Yeah.
And that's starting this year? Or is it on top of this year?
I think it's on top of this year, man.
So you're locked in for 6 years. Yeah, let's just say you're for sure locked in for 5 years. So the Raiders would be trading for 5 years of Purdy. Like, in my opinion, the way that I look at this roster, maybe you can do it, and I wouldn't put it past the Raiders for being able to afford that. They have a lot of cap space projected the next couple years. But clearly the team isn't ready to go and get their quarterback and start winning now. I think they're a year or two away of building the roster, especially the offensive line, and then drafting the quarterback and going more of the cheaper route.
Yeah, so check this out. The 49ers this is year. This is the final year of his rookie deal this year. And then it's 5 years on top of that. So 2030 would be his final season. So that gives you this year, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030. Obviously, there's probably a way to get out of it. Maybe after like the second
Probably
or
the last
third
2 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
third year of the deal or something.
Yeah. But I mean, the problem with trading for him is you're adding more assets to get him. So you're intending to make him kind of your guy for the next 5+ years. Um, and I just think the Raiders are in a position where they're already set up with Geno right now, although he's not doing that great right now. They're set up with him to have him start this year and next year, and then have the capability to move off of him that third year of his contract, or keep him as a backup or as the starter if you have to. And somewhere in between there, hopefully, ideally, draft the quarterback.
Yeah, so I know that it's just been 2 games this year. So it's really like early to be talking about moving on from Purdy, probably. But I'm just reading over the contract notes. There's a full no trade clause, and I'm looking at the dead cap numbers. So the the dead cap number, if they were to, cut him after, or 2026, would be $90 million. After that would be 66 million. The year after that in 2028 would be 38 million. Then 23 million in 2029, and then by 2030 it would be 7 million. So I think that they're going to keep Purdy on the roster. If not, if he's not good enough to be the starter, they'll still keep him on the roster as a backup, because they'll say, oh yeah, we really like Brock. We just want, let's just say Mac Jones works out and he's the better quarterback. We want 2 really good quarterbacks. That's exactly how they'll sell it. But I'm looking at Will's comments, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one who's feeling like, not this way, but Will says, bro, Purdy was throwing alley-oops all game, man. So frustrating to see all of our players get killed out there. And he says, agreed, the Niners acted extremely desperate on the Purdy contract for no reason when they could have just let him play it out. Yeah, like, if Purdy would have played this year and been great, then you reward him because you have a greater sample size to judge him on. Like, you're talking about maybe a couple more million per year, but it's like doing your homework before, let's just say, I'm trying to think of an example, like a good example. Like, let's just say buying a car, right? I really want to not make a bad example here. You do more homework buying a car, and let's just say the car becomes more expensive, but you find out you're getting a reliable one, rather than if you would have just rushed into getting a car, and you would have gotten an unreliable car for the cheaper price before the prices went up. Hopefully that made sense. But I blame the 49ers because rushing the contract didn't make sense to begin with. But hopefully it all works out. I'm just, kind of sick because I was saying how they could have used Aaron Rodgers as leverage. They could have used Mac Jones as leverage, because Kyle likes Mac Jones, and now we've seen 2 games. And Will says, I speak for everyone when I say we are all waiting for the return of the Mac. I've been literally, I've been watching Grant's post game streams and everything, and when Grant talks about Mac Jones, he starts singing "Return of the Mac, Return of the Mac," talking about Mac Jones. It's amazing, love it. But yeah, that's just something it's complicated, the situation, and the 49ers have kind of given themselves less flexibility. I do like the Mac Jones signing, but I worry that, let's just say he just flat out looks like the best quarterback this year, because let's just say Purdy has to miss a game or 2 here or there. Mac has to play a game or 2 here or there. right? And then it's like, hey man, one doesn't exactly look that much better than the other. And it's like, well, we could have probably had Mac Jones for way cheaper, right? Or
Mm.
with our luck, we wouldn't have signed Purdy. Mac Jones would have looked great this year, and or all right, we wouldn't have signed Purdy. Purdy would have been forced to play out his deal. If Purdy did not play well, you play Mac Jones, then you don't have to pay Purdy. If Mac Jones played well, the 49ers probably would have just made Mac Jones the highest paid player anyway. So really, we're all signs point to this. No matter what, we're going to be complaining about somebody being overpaid. So I don't know. The Niners put themselves in this situation, but let let me reel it back in and bring us back to the game against the Jaguars. Another thing that was horrible was the special teams. The special teams was abysmal. Bashul Tuden on the Jaguars had 2 returns for 78 yards. One was a massive return at the end of the first half that brought Jacksonville past midfield, allowing them to get into field goal range and respond to the field goal that the 49ers had just kicked on the other end before halftime. So that was like a big momentum swing. Like it looked like the 49ers, all right, they kept it close, or brought it really, close at halftime. And then the Jaguars just completely, just erased those 3 points that the Niners got. And then also on special teams, Parker Washington for the Jaguars had an 87-yard punt return for a touchdown. And I just have to say, when will the suffering end? D. Winters, he had another good game. Although there is one play in particular where ETN had the long rush for the touchdown. I couldn't necessarily tell whether D. Winters could have made the play or not, because I didn't necessarily see all the replay angles. But I mean, so don't listen to me closely when I say that. I just remember seeing him in the area, so I don't know if like maybe he overran, his angle, and then ETN was able to just break away for a long rushing touchdown. But D. Winters in this game had 9 tackles and an assisted tackle, and he did have another 15-yard penalty, which comes with the job of being the weak side linebacker on the 49ers. You have to commit a 15-yard penalty. But his was a face mask this week, so I mean, he's doing good filling in for Dre Greenlaw, man. We need those penalties. Sets the tempo. But another player that I did want to mention was Trent Williams. He's struggling this year, particularly in pass protection when edge rushers are trying to beat him with their speed. And so when they try to take the outside, Trent Williams, I think, is maybe just has slower footwork than normal. But regardless, I think it's going to have to be one of the main priorities of the offseason for Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to find his successor or his replacement. So the need is there whether they expected it to be there or not. Trent Williams was not going to be all pro forever. So they needed a plan for that. And so since they haven't, they need to now. And then I completely forgot about Eric Armstead being on the Jaguars, but he was the one who ended the game on the play, on the Purdy play where he fumbled. And it's yet another revenge game against the Niners by a former player, which I kind of find interesting and funny. It's like every time a former player plays against the Niners, they have their best game. Like Dante Pettis a couple years ago when he was on the Bears, it was like, man, Pettis was nothing with the Niners, and then just out of nowhere just has his best game. There was also a really nice interception by Upton Stout that was called back by an imaginary pass interference, and I really don't know what the ref was looking at or what he saw, but it was a great play by Stout that unfortunately got called back. And the last thing that stood out, that stood out, about this game, and really it was kind of before and after the game, but Robert Saleh versus Liam Cohen. Mike, did you catch wind of this at all?
Yeah, I started hearing about it. I think either the Sunday night or yeah, it had to be last night. Yeah, certainly
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Just I it's funny, like it's kind of rare that you hear um about a team that isn't your team's like just regular weekly press conference, because I would have never caught wind that there was anything going on between Sala talking about, you know, Duval, whatever the fuck his name is.
Liam Cohen.
Apparently Liam Cohen, yeah, legally sign stealing. And then there was also, I saw on Twitter, a press conference earlier in the week from the Jags where Liam Cohen was asked about that, and he kind of just like, oh, I'm not going to comment on that right now or anything like that.
Yeah, he was
And then of
clearly
course,
annoyed. He was clearly annoyed by it. And
yeah,
for
and
whatever
then
reason, the
what?
Jaguars media also like seemed like they tried to make it a bigger deal than it was too.
Mm, yeah, I mean, when you're if you're if you're accused of sign stealing and you're not doing it, you have every right to be upset. But if you're accused of sign stealing and you are doing it, I don't know. I mean, I either way, you have to be defensive and act like you're not doing it. If it's legal, I guess it's legal, but I'm curious where, like, how are they sign stealing? What tipped off Sala to get the idea that, or the sense or the fact that they are somehow sign stealing? I'm
Well,
curious.
Sala, said this isn't the direct quote, but this was part of the direct quote. Was uh, they have a very advanced sign stealing system that always allows them to put themselves in advantageous situations, on offense.
Hmm.
So that's what Sala was saying, and he said like it's borderline elite, right? And I think that he was trying to give a compliment, but it's just whenever you go to sign stealing in sports, it's like always bush league, and so people are very sensitive to that topic. Like look at the Astros World Series. Like we cannot. Don't tell me you didn't think about the Houston Astros upon hearing about sign stealing, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Robert Sala just knowing that the I guess when Liam Cohen was coordinator of the Bucks, knowing that for whatever reason the offense seemed to always know what the defense was calling. I think that's what gave Sala that impression. And Cohen clearly took offense to it, but Sala also mentioned that other coaches that do it, like the coaches that come from like like Kevin O'Connell does it, McVay, just kind of like he mentioned other coaches that do it as well. So he said it's like a common thing. It's not just like, oh yeah, this fucking guy is sign stealing. I mean, it's legal. I don't think it came off like that, but I'll give my take on like the entire thing in a second. But like I said, Cohen clearly took offense to it, and after the game, he walked by Robert Sala. Like he literally walked past him, and as he was walking away and had already walked past him, he like was near his like players on his team and like maybe assistant coaches or security, and he goes, keep my name out of your fucking mouth, right? Like something like that. And Sala allegedly replied, did you hear Sala's reply?
No, I didn't read or hear too deep into it.
People are alleging that Sala's reply, and I think Nick Wagner, one of the writers for the Niners, also like, you know, tweeted that that's what Sala replied with. But Sala allegedly replied with, "I will fuck your world up," and then like some other other takes. But here's my take. I think Sala shouldn't have mentioned the signal stealing to the media. He can think it, but maybe just next time keep that to yourself, right? You don't have to tell
Hmm.
the media everything. Um, I also believe that Liam Cohen shouldn't have been so sensitive about it, and I think Cohen came off as weak by waiting until he was surrounded by by his players to say something to Sala. Like he was right there. Why didn't you say it to his face? And then also if they did fight, Sala he would have fucked his shit up, dude. Like he would have wrecked Cohen.
Yeah, but I think if you're Liam Cohen, you got to know that he's not going to fight you, especially because it's not like Sala is coming at this maliciously. You
Mm,
know, it's not like Sala's just on site going to start throwing hands with you. It's like you can talk about it in a relatively civil way and not have to resort to, cussing at each other and making a show of it.
yeah.
Um and yet that's what happened. And I mean, in a way, well, not in a way, but just this isn't the first time that Liam Cohen has acted kind of oddly. I mean, obviously the Duval thing was funny, but the
Duval.
first, the first sense that I got that Liam Cohen, however you say his name, Liam Cohen or
Liam
Liam Cohen,
Cohen.
yeah, uh, the first sense that I got that he's not exactly, I don't know, the most
Culture.
professional guy in the world is because of the way that he left the Buccaneers. Because
Mm,
he was, I don't know if he was offered the deal with the Jaguars or if he was able to leave the building and then the Buccaneers offered him like, "Hey, we'll give you a big time, pay raise to stay as offensive coordinator here. Like things are going great here with you. Like let's get this done." And he said, "Yes, I'll be there tomorrow to sign the deal." And then tomorrow came and he was still in Jacksonville and he was like apparently telling them like, "Oh yeah, something came up with my kids, blah blah blah." Like that was the reporting. I mean, I don't fucking know
yeah.
myself, but that was the reporting was like he literally told them like or maybe his agent and through his agent said like, "Yeah, something came up with his kids," and really he was still in the building with the Jaguars figuring out a deal to become their head coach in which he got paid way more than $5 million per year. Um I mean, obviously, if you get a shot to be a head coach, like you don't get many of those, I'm sure. Like the Bucks could have sucked this year, and all of a sudden he's not a head coach candidate. Like I remember last year, the Texans offensive coordinator was a hot up and coming name, never got hired, and then last year they sucked. Their offense sucked. He got fired. He's not going to see a head coaching job.
Was
Like it
that
can
Bobby
happen that
Slowick?
quick for somebody. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
But just it can be that quickly of like you go from the hottest name to what have you done lately? Oh, not that much. Well, good luck to you. So I don't blame him for taking the job. It was just the manner in which he did it. Like he probably could have made a couple phone calls and they would have understood. Like, hey man, if you have a chance to do it, by all means. But the offer's here. But instead, he kind of like backdoored them and like, oh, if this doesn't work out, I still have that really good offer from the Bucks. You know.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I, you know, so I was listening to Grant talk about it, in his post game, instant reaction. And Grant brought up a really interesting point, and he was also, I think, tweeting about it. But Mike, do you know who the other finalist was for that head coaching position in Jacksonville?
Um, wasn't it Patrick Graham?
No, it was Robert Sala. So maybe Robert
Oh,
Sala thought that he was going to get the job, and then Liam Cohen just kind of like went behind everybody's backs, didn't leave the building in Jacksonville, and then maybe Sala was going to, maybe he was thinking he was going to get that job, and then so he just probably doesn't like the guy anyway because it's like this motherfucker just took my job.
mhm.
But I don't know if it really like worked out that way. But that is something that's interesting because I do remember Sala being one of the candidates for Jacksonville, and it I was happy that he didn't get the job because I was like, well, this is an opportunity for him to come back and be the defensive coordinator, and the defense is kicking ass. I have to say, like, yeah, we gave up 26 to the Jaguars, but some of that was special teams. So
Mm.
um, I'd say the defense is exceeding expectations with a bunch of rookies as well. So, uh, all in all, they can have that win today. They can have Liam Cohen as the coach, but I'm glad that we got Sala. But that entire thing was just weird to me. And Will is also providing more context. Will says he said that shit for real. I couldn't hear anything else in terms of when Saleh said, what did I say that he said? Oh, I will fuck your world up. And then Will says, he also said, quote unquote, I will end you, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And Will says Saleh would have put Cohen through a table choke slam style. Yeah, I don't think that's a fight that Liam Cohen would want. So,
I just wish that they were division rivals. This would be
you know,
great.
knowing the way the world works, it's going to be really great when in the off season the 49ers have won their Super Bowl and Robert Saleh can, take some time to train, and Liam Cohen can take some time to train, and then they can be one of the preliminary fights to Jake Paul versus Muhammad Ali's cousin. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, obviously, bad joke. But I know I said, that was going to be the last thing, but there is one more thing that I do want to bring up. Can the 49ers stop wearing white at home? Unless it's for this year's Super Bowl, that's okay in that instance, but I understand that it's supposed to be hot in Santa Clara this time of year, and it has been, in years past, but embrace the tradition of the red and gold. Like, does it really make the biggest difference in the world to wear white versus wearing red? Like, I would understand if it was black, but like, come on, just wear red at home. Like, they're only wearing their red unis like 3 times this year. Well, and then they have the throwback ones, but like they're only wearing their home uniforms 3 times out of 18 weeks. Or I guess 17 games. Like that to me is kind of sad. So, I think we're ready to move on to the 49ers versus the Rams. And I don't know what color the 49ers are going to wear this weekend, or not weekend, actually week. The 49ers are going to be playing the Rams on Thursday Night Football at Levi's South, aka SoFi Stadium. Both teams are 3-1, and it will be a battle for first place in the division until Sunday if the Rams win and the Seahawks win, I think. But I think that this matchup doesn't favor the 49ers for a few reasons. 1, they have a quick turnaround on the road. 2, they are very banged up. 3, the Rams should be operating with a mostly healthy roster. Mike, do you have any thoughts before I get into the keys to the game? Or do you want to save the predictions for last?
No, I'll give I got the Rams in this one. I don't know if Pearsall's playing. We don't even know if Purdy is at 100% right now. At least in the way that he's playing, right? I don't know. You would need McCaffrey to go superhero, and he kind of already is doing that,
Mm-hmm.
at least in a touch basis sort of way. And I just think, like you said, the Rams are healthy, and their receivers are just insane with Stafford right now.
Mm-hmm. I see Frank tuning in. Frank, welcome back. He says only Dallas and Miami look good in home whites. I disagree, Frank. I think Dallas doesn't look good in anything. They should just rebrand. But did you want to say anything else, Mike, or can I give my keys to the game and then my prediction?
Yeah. I mean, last thing I'll say is that the Raiders look good in their alternate throwback whites, even at home. Those ones, the white jersey with the silver letters. I don't care where they wear those. Those look great every time.
I personally like their normal away ones more than those, but I think they both look like crap when you compare it to the Niner uniforms. But I mean, that's just facts, though. The keys to the game. So, number 1, the pass rush has to generate more pressure. They can't let Stafford have all day to throw to Puka Nacua and to Devontae Adams, especially if Renardo Green has to miss another game. We're talking about elite route runners and guys that are going to get most of the targets on offense for the Rams. Uh, if you give Stafford enough time, he's going to dice you up, and you're going to have no chance to win. Number two, this is a very basic one, but protect the football. The 49ers didn't last week, and that was one of the biggest differences in the game. They have to clean up the interceptions and no longer fumble the ball. You're not going to win against the Rams if you have 4 turnovers like they did last week. You're probably not going to win if you have two turnovers. Unless you force the Rams to have more. So they have to win the turnover battle. Number 3 is the 49ers are going to have to dominate the time of possession. So this means that the Niners are going to have to rush more effectively. They're going to have to dial up more short passes as they chew up the clock. That's just what I think. I think those three keys will give them a better opportunity to win the game. But my prediction, I think regardless of whether Purdy plays or whether Mac Jones plays in this game, I think that the Rams are catching the 49ers at a good time for them. I think the Rams will win, and it will look like a game where the 49ers offense just can't keep up with the score. They just can't keep up with the scoring that the Rams probably will be able to do with their offense, because of injuries. But, I don't anticipate that this game is going to be that good this time around, but I would love to be wrong. So, Mike, we're both predicting Rams, right?
Yes.
Every time that I mention any other team winning but the Niners, I just have like this sense inside of me that Pia's dad is going to comment wanting to bet a case of beer. So just be ready, Mike, because you're going to be the one that's going to have to take the bet if he wants to bet. Okay, and maybe you might feel confident about this bet, but just giving you a heads up. There's always bets out there to be made with Pia's dad.
Yeah, I think I have learned not to bet with him.
Yeah. Every time he tells me I'm wrong, he's always right. So. Let's see. Will says, genuinely hope the Rams blow us out to make the seat hotter for Kyle. Will, I don't know, man. I don't know what could possibly make the seat hot for Kyle. Like, I don't know. Brand underscore new, I think is tuning into the channel for the first time, or at least commenting for the first time. He says Rams. He thinks Rams are going to win. So, yeah, he's kind of in line with us. We're predicting the Rams. But welcome to the channel. We were just talking Niners. We're about to jump into Raiders. Mike, are you ready to talk about the Raiders right now?
Yep.
All right. Awesome. So we're going to recap the Raiders versus Bears game. So, Mike, I turned off the Raiders game before Daniel Carlson lined up for the game-winning field goal because I knew they had it in the bag. They won, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm joking, but I didn't get a chance to really watch the Raider game because the Niner game, I think, was on like at the exact same time, and it also wasn't like in the local network. So I hate when that shit happens. I like when the Raiders are on in the morning window, Niners are on in the afternoon, and it's just, I love when it works out beautifully and I get to watch both games. But the things that I do know about this game was that the game-winning field goal got blocked. The final score was 25-24 Bears. Geno sucked, Crosby rocked, and Ashton Genty went nuclear. Genty had 21 carries for 138 yards. He had a rushing touchdown, 2 receiving touchdowns for 17 yards. The Raiders finally got their run game functioning properly. We touched on Genty's big day just a second ago, but Raheem Mostert also had 4 carries for 62 yards. Mike, was there like one big play or what? Because he averaged 15.5 yards per carry.
Mostert, I want to say, had 2 pretty good big plays. There was one on the final drive that got us towards that attempted game-leading field goal. And then there was one earlier in the game, probably in the third quarter, where he got like a 35-yard run or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
in limited snaps, he looked good.
yeah, Crosby had 5 tackles and an interception. You want to tell us about how you felt about Crosby? I know you were pretty ecstatic about him in the group chat.
But yeah, just that interception was awesome. He was wreaking havoc against Caleb Williams this entire game. I mean, really, a couple weeks ago, I want to say the Bears were on prime time, whether it was a Sunday night or Monday night game, whatever it was. Maybe it was a Thursday night game. I don't remember. But what I do remember watching the Bears, whatever week, I feel like it was week 1, but I could be wrong. I remember seeing Caleb Williams running quite a bit, scrambling, and also looking extremely fast out of the, just out of the pocket, running for first downs, running for touchdowns, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Not like he's prolific or anything, but just he looked fast for a guy who I didn't think was that fast. Crosby was like single-handedly doing everything he could to eliminate that shit.
That was my first key to the game. Coming into this week was contain Caleb Williams.
Yeah, yeah, and they just basically said, yeah, Crosby.
That's your
Dude,
job.
I don't know, just I mean, I doubt that's what they said to him. It's more of just Crosby himself was just like, I really think he was just playing like he refused to lose this game, and he was doing everything in his power to give the offense opportunities, and to get stops and what have you. He had multiple. I think he had like 3 deflected passes in this game. I could be wrong, but one of them was what became an interception for him. One of I I was a very relaxed viewer of this game. I was not jumping up and down. I wasn't screaming or anything like that. But that play, you know, if I were more excited about this season, I can say that would have been like a top 10 play of my life that I've seen from a Raiders player. I mean, I'd say it still is. It's just I would have reacted much stronger to it in the moment, because I think opening drive, play 1 or 2, threw a pick, and we'll get back to Geno. And then the Bears go down and they get a field goal. The opening drive, the Bears received, and the Raiders got like a 3 and out. Like, first half of this game, the Raiders defense was killing it. Third quarter of this game, mostly the Raiders defense was killing it. Fourth quarter, mostly killing it. But it was the points off the interceptions that really did them in. So again, I'll get back to Geno, but sorry. Okay, yeah. The point was they get a field goal off the first interception. Then the Raiders get the ball, and just like usual, run up the gut, and the defensive tackle just runs by. I think it was Jordan Meredith, pops Janty. The next defensive tackle comes in, hits him again, and he fumbles. And I'm like, yeah, here we go. It's drive number 2. We had an interception, now a fumble lost. Like, we're cooked. And then the end of that drive for the Bears, they were driving. It looked like they were getting ready to score, and then Max Crosby gets the deflection, gets the interception. And that gave them life. They go down, they score a touchdown. That was the beginning of Janty's big game. Like, it completely turned the tides. Because they would have been down 10-0, and it would have sounded like a Bears home game. I think most of the game it probably did. I guess one issue that I have with this game, like, I have my notes, I'll get to it, but like, and they're really quick. My issue with this game, other than Geno and really Jordan Meredith, is that it looked like the Bears' new stadium that they're going to build in like 4, 5, 6, 10 years, however long it is. They just got it like approved or some shit in Chicago. We just got a hint of what it's going to look like. Because that stadium was like 75% Chicago fans. And for reference, I really wanted to go to this game. My dad especially really wanted to go to this game because my dad has this thing, personally, for him, um, where he has seen every NFL team at home against the Raiders, except for three teams: the Bears, the Dolphins, somehow, and the Texans. Or at the bare minimum, he's not gotten a photo of those teams. I think he's seen the Dolphins, but he didn't get a photo at the time. And he has like each one on the wall in his Raider room, right? So he really wanted to go to this game. It'd be his first game in Vegas. And for lack of a better term, we were priced out. Like, this game was so atrociously expensive. I think it was the most expensive ticket of the year. That'll probably
What?
change.
That's
Yeah.
so weird.
I mean, it's because of resale. All the PSLs got sold within like an hour when they first became available in 2019 or whatever year it was, 2018, back when the stadium was on its way to being ready. And all of those people that bought those PSLs are reselling the ticket on the aftermarket or Ticketmaster, whatever, and they're reaping the benefits by selling the tickets for twice the price.
Well, you know what it is too. It's you know, people if people wouldn't buy the tickets, the price would go down. But the fact that
Yeah, that's
people
how
are
I
buying the tickets for the ridiculous price is the reason why they're still so expensive.
right. And this has always been my issue with Vegas, and this really wasn't the conversation I was like intending to go on when this started for the Raiders, but um my
Yes, it
issue with
is.
Vegas well, my issue with Vegas from the get-go, back when they announced that they were going to Vegas and we were still the Oakland Raiders, was that this was my fear that home field advantage mystique of the black hole was going to be gone. Um, and you're going to get tourists coming in. And there's a very low guarantee that those tourists are going to be Raider fans, especially if they're priced out, especially if their team is hot fucking garbage. Why would they pay $400 plus a ticket to get third deck seats to watch their team suck massive horse dick? I don't want to do that. So if the Bears fans want to go do that, that's good for them. It's going to embarrass us in the process because when you watch the game on CBS, it looks like a Bears home game and it sounds like it. At the end of the game when the kick was blocked, that sounded like a Bears home game. And that's been my biggest issue with Vegas. Otherwise, it's been great. It's a great I guess market for the team or for Mark Davis or whatnot. I think it's enticing to some players. The state of Nevada with the no income tax is awesome. It's a perk for sure, but it's that home field advantage that I have a genuine issue with. And the two main parts of the problems are that the people that bought the tickets for the PSLs for the Raiders stadium for Raider games, there is no guarantee that they're even Raider fans. They might just so happen to be people with money who got in line first and realized, oh, it takes money to make money. I'm going to resell this shit and just make a profit every year. And that does not matter who I sell it to. There should be a system in check somehow to where you can confirm whether the person you're selling it to is a Raider fan or a away fan, but then it becomes a whole other issue and yada, yada, yada. So, of course, that will probably never happen, but I don't know. I guess I don't like that the tickets are on a resale market, and I'm just venting right now, really. But this would have been a fun game to go to, even though they lost. Um, and I can get back to it unless you have any thoughts.
Yeah, so let me finish up my thing, like my observations and notes real quick. I did want to mention Devin White had 8 tackles and 1 assist. So Devin White seemed to have a good game. Um, and after I'm done with this, we'll get to the comments and then you can get to your notes. Sound good? Because there are some pretty good comments. Excuse me. Geno Smith was 14 of 21 with 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. my observation from very early on is that Geno Smith is that for whatever reason, he loves to force deep contested 50-50 balls often into double coverage. Was it more of that, Mike, that led to the 3 interceptions?
Yeah, no, every interception that I saw, I want to say every single one. I could be wrong here, but I know at least 2 out of 3 of them were attempts to Jacoby Myers. But I want to say it was all 3. And that is not a knock on Jacoby Myers. To me, it's a full-blown knock on. It was really just me pointing it out that it was interesting to me that it was always Jacoby Myers. But I mean, unless it's like Jacoby Myers has a problem with separating, but I don't think it's that. Um, I just think that Geno is too comfortable, like you said, with forcing passes over the middle of the field. He did it last week. Who did we play last week? Week 3.
It wasn't the Chargers, was it? No, that was week 2.
No, that was week 2. Yeah.
It was. God, let me.
Yeah, that's weird. Why am I forgetting?
It was Commanders.
Commanders. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so basically, I want to say in the Commanders game, he had a similar play where he threw it to the towards the safety, and it looks like Jacoby Myers is open. He's streaking. And then comes the safety diving, getting the interception. Same shit was the first interception. I think it was the first. Or no, that was his second interception in this game. I think he has a problem with seeing the safety downfield relative to whatever route he's throwing to. And, like Frank is saying, he's locked in on his primary receivers, on a play-by-play basis, it seems.
I don't think that he just forces it over the middle, though. I also see him force it like deep outside the numbers as well.
Yeah, but I mean, in the Chargers game, I think one of those got picked. But for the most part, like if he throws it deep and like somewhat towards the sideline, like that's a pretty low likelihood of getting picked. I don't mind it if you're like, just fuck it, we ball, chuck it downfield to Dante Thornton every here and there and hope for either Dante to come down with it or a PI, flag. But it to me, like, those are less guaranteed to be made unless Dante Thornton is streaking wide open, right? My issue is that he's forcing passes on crossing or on like dig routes, like in breaking routes from Jacoby Myers over the middle of the field. I think, his third pick to me was it his third? I'm forgetting. Fuck. Let's just say it was. There was a pick where Jacoby Myers is on the left side of the field, hike, goes up 7 steps, breaks in. Right, he's crossing across the middle of the field, and the defender is running stride for stride with him, in front of him, no less. And Geno's like, perfect, and throws it right at him. And it's like, it was a little, not behind, but like, ideally, you lead Jacoby Myers. And instead, it was like, where Jacoby was going, he threw it right at him. So, like, he's catching it like this, when he should be catching it, he should be catching it like this. Arms out.
Yeah.
So because the defender was stride for stride with him, the defender had a chance to put his arms on the ball, and he picked it off. He forced it. Like, to me, he forced it because he clearly was not wide open. He's not separating from that defender. Yes, Frank, he's not checking down. And in the past, many Raider fans would say, fuck me, the check down king, Derek Carr. But man, could we use Derek Carr right now? And I that sounds crazy to say or whatever. I don't care what anybody thinks. I even said it, I think, to the group chat. Didn't I?
Yeah.
I said this team would be doing so much better with Derek Carr right now. At least peak Derek Carr. I don't know about 2025 Derek Carr for sure, or 2024 Derek Carr, but like peak 2016 to 2021 Derek Carr, this team would look good, man. Well, then there's the offensive line, right? But the reason for Janty's breakout game is because the offensive line actually, for the most part, looked good in this game,
You know what?
right?
With peak Derek Carr, I think the Raiders would be 3-1 right now.
Most likely.
They'd be 3-1 or 4-0. Peak Derek Carr, they would have beat the
Yeah.
Chargers because the Chargers were relentlessly trying to give the game to the Raiders. They would have won this game with the Bears, or against the Bears, and they would have had a better shot to beat the Commanders.
Yeah.
Peak Derek Carr, not 2025 Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Let me get to some comments, and then I'll let you finish up. But Will says, I need your input on this stance situation, Mike. And I'm really glad Will brought this up because I also did notice Genty did start, going in his standing straight up stance. Do you think that Genty going back to what he's comfortable with actually made him go nuclear in this game, or was it just the matchup?
I think it was a healthy dose of three things, and you touched on two of them. The third, so one, the matchup, and not really in any particular order here. Actually, the third thing that I'm going to say is most important. So actually, I'll go with least important first. One, the stance. Okay, he brought back the stance, and it's like, oh, no coincidence. Then he goes off. Then he looks like Boise State all over again. He looks like he's playing against, fucking San Jose State right now. Two, like I said, the matchup with the Bears, like, very good matchup for running back. But the third and most important reason why he went nuclear in this game, other than two dump off, like the rare dump offs that Gino actually gives him, other than those being touchdowns, like if you're looking at this from a fantasy standpoint, those two passing touchdowns to Janty could have gone to Trey Tucker, and we're not talking about 35 or 32 points in fantasy.
I think that's why Will's asking. I think Will has Genty on his fantasy team, and he's like, is this just the matchup or is he back? But
right. Yeah, I think the matchup is important. Like if I shouldn't say this with Josh here, but if you're on the fence about Janty, because I have Janty too, so it doesn't really matter, but if you're on the fence with Janty, I'm not trading him right now. But I wouldn't blame anybody for being like, let me sell high while I can.
I was thinking about that like literally just a second ago. I'm like, watch, dude, all the fantasy experts are gonna be like, yeah, and this is the player to sell high this week, Ashton Genty. He just went off against the Bears. Everybody thinks he's back, but look at his matchups. Blah 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 blah. You don't need fantasy experts. You need Mike and I. You see, Mike, can you pull up the trophy and just show everybody our names on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. See, Mike and I, it's almost like Mike and I play in like a 2 or a 4-person league, okay? I would be extremely honored if it was a 2-person league and I was just winning against Mike more often than he wins against me, but no, we're in a 10-team league. It hurts me to see the trophy right now because my name isn't under last year's because Mike beat me in the championship. But I mean, look at that. It's got my name all over that side. Go ahead and rotate it. And then it's got my name on that side too, but more of Mike's name, which is actually pissing me off. And Mike's team is looking pretty good again. But yeah, forget the fantasy experts. Listen to Mike and I. Listen to the Silver and Gold podcast. And whenever you have questions about the Raiders and Niners, because I think Mike and I don't want to tip our hand fantasy wise. If you have specific questions, you can always hit us up on Twitter or whatever. Our Twitter handles are right here. And then, yeah, if you want to send stuff to the Silver and Gold Pod Twitter account, or I guess X account, whatever you want to call it. It's also listed down there right next to the X logo. So But what were you saying, Mike? Sorry.
No, you're good. Like for reference, I feel good on my team where I have Josh Jacobs, Amarian Hampton, and Ashton Jeanty, just for fantasy talk really quick. I feel comfortable any given week with Jeanty as my third running back. Like that's kind of how I'm looking at him right now. Like Hampton is an awesome situation now, although their offensive line is not getting any healthier for the Chargers, but he's scoring a lot of points, and at least his quarterback is willing to check down the ball. And there's nobody to take touches from Hampton anymore. Um, Jacobs is just Josh Jacobs, and then Jeanty is getting, the King's load in Vegas, but when the offensive guards are not playing good, when the center just lets the guy run right by him off the snap, don't expect good things. For example, when he lost the fumble. So, I guess when it comes to Jeanty and fantasy football, it really, to me, depends on how you feel about your roster. Like, I feel good about keeping Jeanty off just off the opportunity that any given play he can break that 64-yard touchdown like he did yesterday. That's why I'm keeping him. But if you want to sell high on him because I'm kind of weak at running back or I could use a star receiver or whatever, by all means, man. I don't blame you.
Hey, Mike, I just thought of a great idea. How about
Yeah.
you and we start a 2-person fantasy league where we just play each other every single week and we see just who's better all season. Imagine
Yeah.
imagine how the draft would go.
Well, at
Where we
that
just
rate, you
take
might as well
turns.
just you might as well just redraft every week, you know?
No. That would take way too long. But
Well, not
just
full
imagine
draft, but just pick up player. I don't know.
we
Yeah, I don't know.
each start 10 running backs, 10 receivers, 10 3 quarterbacks, you know. Let's just do it, man. And then
Yeah.
tell you what, we'll put the you put one of your championships on the line, I'll put one of mine.
Yeah.
We could be tied 3-3.
Just like that.
Yeah. But going back to the comments, Frank said, "Gee, the Raiders discovered quarterback under center." Yeah. I didn't get to watch the game, but Mike, was there a lot more from under center?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't pay attention to that. I haven't been paying much attention to like whether or not they're mostly in shotgun or anything like that.
I have noticed
So
they have been
now
in shotgun a lot when I do watch.
a
So
lot. Okay. I mean, that's a big college thing, huh? Like that's just another Chip Kelly college offense sort of vibe.
what, being in
You think?
shotgun?
Yeah. Or no?
Mm,
Because I always think of a quarterback in college standing in shotgun and
okay, John
that's
Gruden.
his fucking
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
John Gruden. Every time he's like, "Yeah, I hate that shit, man." He's like, "I want a quarterback that really, 52 cent hot." Like like actually like will do a cadence, man. I hate.
yeah. My favorite video, right? Or not my favorite video, but one of my favorite videos that I've seen recently is Andrew Luck talking about his cadence and how you go like everybody would compliment him about his cadence at the line and how it would get people off sides because it's not like your ordinary hut hut. His is like hut 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 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the way that he explains it is so good though.
You know what that sounds like? If any of you guys watch South Park, it sounds like the episode of South Park where Randy tries to take the world's largest dump, and that's exactly how he sounds right before he makes it. So,
Hmm.
so that's exactly what popped into my head. But the numbers, it's tuning back in. The numbers, welcome back to the channel, says Raiders will beat the Colts. Obviously, he's a Raider fan. We will talk about that after we finish up the recap for the Bears. Frank says the Raiders D has kept them in games almost all season. Yeah, the Raiders
Yeah,
defense is,
man.
I think been pretty good. That's that
Yep.
continuity that Mike's been begging for with Patrick Graham, because while they have not been able to keep a head coach, they have been able to keep their coordinator.
I will say this also. So this did not apply for the Washington game. The Raiders on all facets got absolutely annihilated in that game against a backup quarterback, no less. But um, and even in the run game, because their run defense has been phenomenal, and I think that's why their defense as a whole has been so good. Um, and maybe they're getting pressure. I haven't noticed like an amazing amount of pressure. I mean, in this Bears game from Crosby, yes, but um, usually pressure equals coverage, and I've just been so negative on the corners for this team. But the linebackers and the defensive tackles and such in the run game have been uh, a sight for sore eyes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
Where were we? Where were we? Okay. Frank said aftermarket. Will said, I'm from Vegas, and you're so right, Mike. This shitty ass city took the soul right out from the team.
yeah, I mean, I have a hard time blaming the city. I think it's more of circumstance because, and this is coming from an Oakland fan. Like, I I see what that city has done with the Vegas Golden Knights, and I know that they can get it done for the Raiders. You know, in the sense that, I mean, you have Tuesday games for a hockey team, and that bitch is sold out with home fans. Because, I mean, I don't know how their season tickets work for the Vegas Golden Knights, but my assumption is it's not a stadium or arena or whatever you call it filled with resold tickets. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. And it's probably a matter of price, but I think the main thing is just resale and the NFL market. Like, people want to travel for, I mean, it's a Sunday. It's one game a week. It's a weekend. It's perfect for a weekend getaway in Vegas, right? What are we going to do on Saturday? Fucking whatever you want to do. Whereas, like, if I go to Baltimore, it's like, I don't really know what to do. Let's just search up what's popular in Baltimore, I guess.
What do you have
Um,
against Baltimore?
right. I mean, Cincinnati or what Indianapolis.
What do
What
you
do I
have?
really?
What do you have against those places, Mike?
Yeah, they're just filled with I don't know. Anyways, I was gonna make like a peacemaker joke or something. Um,
Yeah, maybe not with the. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah,
it's
just
like
don't
Earth
make
X over
it.
there.
Yeah, just don't. Yeah, don't do that.
Um, but anyways, just I think. I mean, I guess Will would probably know better because he's in Vegas, but my perspective is that it's a matter of circumstance less than it is about the city. But the city is a big part of the circumstance in the sense that it's a huge attraction for away fans.
Yeah, the number says Raiders need to win at home, bro, to have a home crowd.
Yeah,
That
I
that
mean
that will also help too, but
that.
that's gonna drive ticket prices way higher.
Yeah, here's my thing. I will pay the $400 if I think that they are a Super Bowl contender. Will I do it every week? Fuck no. But will I do it once a season? Fuck yes. Absolutely. Every year. If I think that they are an absolute contender, like if they're the Buffalo Bills, if they're the Kansas City Chiefs, which, you know, we know the Chiefs, right? But like the Bills, every year they are a contender. I would be there.
All right, we are at 1 hour and 15 minutes. I need to remember that because I could literally create a reel just from that. Where I just record you. If I knew that they were going to be a contender, I would buy a ticket every year, right? And then I just do one eternity later. And then you do just a fucking skeleton, like, you know, just Photoshop a skeleton in your chair.
Yeah.
Never went to, yeah. And then like a caption, never went to a game.
It's going to be season 40 of the podcast. We're going to be in our 60s. And you're going to be like, so Mike, when was the last time you went to one game a season? Oh, probably when they were back in Oakland.
Yeah. Like, it's going to be like John Gruden III is coaching the Raiders, right?
Mm.
Or Jack Brady, whatever Tom Brady's son's name is. But Frank says Gino is locked in on his primaries. Oh, yeah, we got to that. He ain't checking down. We got to that. Will said, no, I got Bucky and Kyron Mason on the bench. Flavor of the week. I don't entirely understand the context of that comment. I'm sorry, Frank. Will said
flavor of the week quarterback, maybe? I don't know.
Made me get a false start. Josh, good hard count. See, a good hard count is supposed to not get a false start. A good hard count is supposed to get an offsides. So I think I did a bad job, but also I'm just waiting. There, eventually, I'm gonna yell so loud on this podcast that one of my neighbors is gonna call the police and just do like a wellness check. So don't be, that'll be the day. Will says that video of Gruden talking to Dart about his count is hilarious. We call it purple. I did not see that.
I was thinking about that too when we were talking about cadence. Because literally when I did the clapping, that's the first thing I thought of was the video of Gruden with Jackson Dart on like the QB school or whatever the hell it's called. Mm-hmm. Gruden asked him like, "All right, now show me your hard count or something like that, or show me your cadence." And Jackson Dart just claps, and Gruden's like, well, like he just sit there frozen, like, "Is that it?" He's like, "Yeah, that's what we do." Like, okay, do it again. And he claps and he's like, really? Probably just giving him a hard time, but.
Will also says, I feel like the difference with the Knights and the Raiders' success in Las Vegas is that the Knights were an expansion team and got fucking loaded with talent. Made it really easy for everyone to root. I think that, and this is just my opinion, the Raiders games, there only being 8 games is another reason why the tickets are so expensive. It's a historic NFL franchise. People from Oakland,
I think that's
really
NFL
care about
tickets
the Raiders. It's not like they moved across to the other coast. You know what I mean? They just moved to Vegas, which is not too far. Like it's drivable if you want to drive, or it's a fun weekend if you want to like fly in and like spend a weekend. It's a big tourist attraction. The thing about the Golden Knights is, yes, they were good like immediately, which like kind of brought in a fan base. They were also the first professional sports team in Vegas? They were the very first one? Or was it the Aces?
The Knights?
Yeah. Or was it the Aces?
That's a great question. It is probably the Aces.
And then there are how many home games in hockey, right? So how many games are actually played in Vegas? So that also keeps the ticket prices down because it's just more accessible.
Yeah, well, I think it's also just not to dog on the NHL, but it's the NHL. Like, I think they have around the same amount of home game or games in general as the NBA, in part because their seasons kind of just go along with each other within about a week or two span of each other.
Yeah.
And they go the exact same amount of time. And yet Warriors tickets are just insane.
Warriors tickets are insane because, Steph Curry.
They're on a generational run.
Steph Curry is the greatest player in franchise history, and they just got a brand new stadium in San Francisco. So tickets are just going to be expensive as long as Steph Curry is around. But the minute Steph Curry retires or goes to another team, tickets are going to fucking plummet for the Warriors. I'm telling you right now, it's a supply and demand thing. I mean, unless the Warriors are still very good by the time Curry retires, I think tickets are going to plummet. Like if they're dog shit and he's not on the team,
Yeah,
fans are.
I think
I think fans are. It's going to take a while for them to like care again, except for
yeah,
the
I think it
hardcore.
yeah. I think heavily matters is if they're still good or not. But no matter what, yes, you take away that star power, the price is going to go down. I'm sure the Patriots are dealing with that now, at least up until they drafted Drake May, right? Post Brady, like the prices probably immediately went down for sure. But I think relative between the Warriors prices and the Golden Knights, yes, is the star power, and yes, is that they won 4 championships. 4, right?
Yeah, they won 4.
Yeah, what a run, man. Love it. Um, the Golden Knights didn't win a championship, if I'm not mistaken, but they did go to the Stanley Cup in, I believe, their first season.
I think they
So
did
they
win.
were. You'd have to search it up to vet me, but I want to say they didn't. Oh fuck, maybe they did. I don't think they won year 1, but they might have won recently, actually, like 2 years ago or something. You might be right.
Yeah, they won in 2023.
Okay, so yeah, they won 2 years ago. So yeah, I mean they are a one-time champion NHL franchise that was an expansion team in like what 2017 or some shit. Maybe earlier, maybe 2015. I'm not sure, but
I'm
you know,
I'm just so
like
sorry because I know Paulina is probably watching right now, and she probably this might be her least favorite segment of the
yeah,
pod.
yeah. As a diehard Sharks fan, it's annoying. No offense if Will is a Knights fan, but that is extremely annoying. Imagine an NFL franchise an expansion team is put in Portland or
Or
fucking
Oakland.
oh, I mean that would be bittersweet at least.
What would
But
you do,
like
Mike? What would you do?
no, oh man, my thing was gonna say like year 1 they go to the Super Bowl, year 5 they win the Super Bowl of an expansion team. Like I'd be so fucking bitter for sure, especially if they're out of Oakland. If they're in Oakland, I'd probably just be like, you know what? I guess I have a new other team, you know?
Think about it.
But
An expansion team in Oakland. They demolish the Coliseum and rebuild a brand new venue there. You can still BART to games. Oh man, that would be amazing. You could still tailgate. Well, I guess there's the Oakland roots, but like, give me a sport that I actually care about. Consider me selfish, but give me another baseball team, like a MLB baseball team. I mean, no offense to the Oakland Ballers, but like I just can't get invested for a secondary league. You know, no
yeah,
offense.
no. Long story short, there's a lot of factors that go into these things. At the end of the day, I think I agree with Will about them being an expansion team and just being loaded with talent from the jump, being in the Stanley Cup. Jesus. Hey man, I almost
The
said something really
Stanley,
bad.
the Stanley, what?
Hey, whew. Just being a championship level team from the jump, of course you're gonna sell tickets, And then I think when it goes to the Raiders, I think was it Frank or no, it was somebody else. Just one. If you scroll up just a little bit on the
The numbers?
comments for me, yeah, the numbers. They need to win at home, to have a home crowd. It's not just that they need to win. Period. Like I said, if they're an AFC Championship Super Bowl caliber team, I will pay the money to be there. I think most Raider fans agree with me on that. But why would I pay as much money as they're demanding right now just because they have a shiny stadium and a better head coach than usual, and Ashton Gianti and Max Crosby, doesn't mean that I should pay up that money to go watch them choke the game away like they did yesterday.
Dude, I just thought of a
So,
really awful, you know, like what if scenario. And finish your point. I'm sorry.
well, I'm not gonna lie to you. I need to get out of here pretty soon. So I'm gonna wrap up my points on this game, and then we can quickly go through the Colts game.
Okay, okay, but
Um,
real quick, real quick. Um,
yeah.
Imagine in the future if you just got like, let's just say you're old, right? And just imagine that you get like Alzheimer's or dementia, and like you have like really bad memory problems, and
Mm,
so you know how like you in your mind go back in time, or you can like you know remember, like you think that you're so young but you're not, like
mm.
you know how that's like a possibility. Like imagine you're old, and the day, like you wake up every day thinking that you're back as a teenager and the Raiders are still in Oakland, and every day you find out that the Raiders are not in Oakland. Like could you
I
imagine how catastrophic that would be? Like I don't know why I thought about that, and everybody watching just gets a front row seat at how my mind just can race. But yeah, go ahead and finish. Go ahead and finish. I just had to get that out.
yeah, I'd be in a waking literal nightmare.
Every day.
Um, every day. Yeah,
Every day.
just
What? The
I
Raiders
can't wait to
moved.
go to. Yeah, I can't wait to go to the game this season. Search up Oakland Raider tickets on my future fucking virtual laptop or whatever. What's this? All right, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, Gino lost this game. What's
What's
this?
this? Yeah, that's what got me.
This no, this can't be. uh, Gino throws three interceptions in this game, and all of them led to Bears points. The first two interceptions led to field goals, and then the final interception led to a touchdown drive. Um, I don't know if that was the first time that the Bears took the lead or not, but regardless, I mean, you just take away one of those interceptions, and in theory, of course, realistically, the game doesn't go the way that it does, but in theory, the Raiders win this game because they only lost by 1 point. You take away just one out of three interceptions. Like, from the jump week one, I was saying if you just win the turnover battle, you probably win games. And if you're throwing three interceptions in a game, you're not going to win them.
Both our teams had four
So,
turnovers.
what's that?
Both our teams had four turnovers this week.
Yeah, there you go. So, and I don't blame Janty on the fumble. He got pummeled immediately, and he got spun around, and then it got popped out. Um, and that's an offensive line issue. And speaking on the offensive line, I do have to give the flowers to two guys. First off, Jackson Powers Johnson. He comes back finally in this game. He gets the start. I think there is still precedent from Pete Carroll that there is still an ongoing battle at right guard between him and Alex Kappa. I'm here to tell you that there should not be a fucking battle at right guard. Jackson Powers Johnson was phenomenal in this game. Absolutely phenomenal. Yes.
So maybe it's Pete Carroll who's the one who is waking up with memory issues, and every morning he wakes up thinking there's a battle at right guard when there isn't.
That, or he's waking up and the last day that he's just in Groundhog Day mentally on is like, wow, that Tampa Bay offensive guard, Alex Kappa, is one stud of an offensive lineman. And that
Yeah.
was like 5 fucking years ago.
And every morning,
Um,
Spy Tech walks in and he goes, "What's that? Jackson Powers Johnson? Who the hell is that?"
yeah. But to go with Powers Johnson at right guard, I owe a apology apparently to Dylan Parham because I mean, I don't know if I no, I did. I dogged him on this podcast when I did the whole "I got you, buddy," explanation a couple weeks ago, or last week. Just talking about how Dylan Parham just looks lost on certain plays, and he's causing a lot of these broken run plays where the defensive tackle just comes right in and blasts Ashton Janty. Finally, Dylan Parham is probably doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is creating the run lanes when Ashton Janty is running to the left. Because a lot of the time, Janty is running between the tackles, following Dylan Parham's lead. And I think on both of Mostert's big runs and on Janty's big long 64-yard touchdown, it was Dylan Parham that was making the critical block. So when our offensive guards are doing good, I think this is the capability, and really, when they hired Chip Kelly, this was, I think, largely the intention. Let's rush for 200 yards a game if we can. Maybe more likely, let's aim for 150. But if we can get 200, shit, let's do it, right? Let's run down their throats. And then we don't need our quarterback to throw for 300 yards like in week 1. He can throw for 117, and if he just doesn't throw 3 fucking picks, we can win the game. So obviously that's what I keep going back to is Geno's picks. He looked terrible for the most part. And again, wasted career games from both Ashton Janty and Max Crosby. This is my last point. And it's really not like a major point or like a huge talking point that I'm trying to have. It's too early in Max Crosby's career to be talking about this. But right now, he is not a Hall of Famer. He's a Raider Ring of Honor, Raiders legend at this point in his career, Max Crosby, but he is not, in my opinion, not to be negative, just being honest. I do not think Max Crosby is on a Hall of Fame trajectory right now. He's close. He just has to probably get more numbers to his game. He needs to have multiple 10 plus, maybe 12 plus sacks seasons a year. Stay healthy and whatnot, right? But this was a game where he looked like a genuine Hall of Famer. He looked like the best defender in football. Period.
So, if Max Crosby, as a current NFL player, as an edge rusher, is not currently on the trajectory to be in the Hall of Fame, who is, in your opinion? Just name a few, because I know you don't have a lot of time.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
Maybe TJ Watt, just because he gets so many goddamn sacks a year, but it shouldn't be based if I actually believe that the NFL Hall of Fame isn't stat driven, maybe Crosby is on the level of a TJ Watt, of consistently one of the best players on the field and always, wreaking havoc, and you have to game plan around him and all those things. But, I'd say it's easier for the stats to prove, that, this guy's a Hall of Famer at the end of the day. And I just don't know if Crosby's stats line up with that. The tackles for loss, yes. The pressures, I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough call. I guess at the end of being a Hall of Famer, I think it's easier to call the Hall of Fame for receivers and quarterbacks and running backs because they get all the stats, fantasy football, all that shit, right? Quarterbacks, the Hall of Famers. Wide receivers, just off the top of my head, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans. I'm sure Cooper Kupp, I would probably argue, depending. I'd have to really look back on his career.
No.
He definitely had his high points.
I'm gonna go ahead and say Cooper Kupp, not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he's probably more like Rams Ring of Honor type of guy. If he was more consistent with his play, then yes, but he had some injuries and whatnot. Anyways, I think Crosby is close. He just has to have more games like this. I guess that's my point. And if he does have more games like this and they keep losing, I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the Bears game, or you want to just quickly go over the Colts game and get out of here?
Yeah, we'll do the Colts.
All right. We're moving on from the Bears to the Colts. So, Mike, the Raiders will be on the road against the Colts, who have been great this season and barely lost to the Rams yesterday. I see this as a tough matchup for the Raiders, but here are my keys to the game for them. And I'm just going to go rapid fire with everything. You can go rapid fire with, or take it as long as you need. But my keys: focus on Jonathan Taylor. You don't want to let him get going. I think it's a better game plan to force Daniel Jones to beat you. He has been playing well this season, but he had 2 interceptions yesterday in the Colts loss. Next key is to keep the momentum going with Genty. It took this long to unlock him. Keep it going. You want to keep that momentum. Number 3, Geno must stop forcing the ball downfield so often. If it's there, take it, but don't try to make something out of nothing and give the ball back to the Colts. There's nothing wrong with gaining short yardage with Jacoby Myers, so I think Chip Kelly might need to dial up a little bit more short yardage plays, for Jacoby Myers. And then number 4 is this goes hand in hand with the previous key, but protect the football. And my prediction, personally, I think the Colts are going to be able to move the football pretty well in this game. And I think that they're going to score enough to beat this Raiders team. So I'm picking the Colts to win. Mike, you have the floor.
Yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention for the Bears game, but is prevalent for this Colts game, is that Colton Miller, 2 plays before the end of the final offensive drive, suffered a high ankle sprain. And the way that he was laying on the ground, I couldn't tell if he just broke his fucking collarbone, if he tore something in his leg. I didn't know what the hell happened. And, I mean, high ankle sprains are nothing to be scoffed at. But, I'm glad that this isn't some season-ending injury. But he will be missing multiple weeks, it sounds like. So somebody has to come in and take up the mantle at left tackle for a couple weeks. And I'm scared. Because I don't know who the hell that's going to be. They had Justin Forsythe in, who they picked up after free agents, or after the preseason, to be their swing tackle. They just gave up on Thayer Mumford. So I don't know if they want to put the rookie in, or if they want to rock with, the swing tackle to be the starting left tackle for 2+ weeks. I don't know if they want to. I doubt this. I don't know if they want to move DJ Glaze over to the left tackle side. I doubt that. So yeah, I don't know what their plan is. That'll be very intriguing for the next couple weeks. But get well, Colton Miller. And I agree. I'm picking the Colts to win this game. This would be a major test for the Raiders' run defense. If they can limit Jonathan Taylor to less than 70 yards rushing, which they probably won't. He'll break one, right? But if they manage to limit him, then they have a chance in this game. And also, they prove that they are a really, for real, run defense. But yeah, this Colts team is looking pretty damn good right now. And I'm actually very excited to watch them, because I kind of want to know, like, what is causing their success? Is it Daniel Jones on a career resurgence with the right coach in Shane Steichen, a guy who I think is very underrated as a offensive, play caller, and apparently as a head coach? Is it their offensive line is back to where they were a couple of years ago, being kind of labeled as one of the top 3 lines in the league? Is it just everything? Is the defense above average? Is it the run game being awesome? And, Jonathan Taylor just killing it right now. And everything else involved. I mean, the receivers look good. Fucking Tyler Warren, right? He's just a joker, sort of, in that offense. So, yeah, I got the Colts. I'm hoping for a good game. I mean, I'd like to see the Raiders pull out the win, but I'm also at the point now where I'm not opposed to the first overall pick. Like, I wasn't really emotionally vested in this Bears game this past Sunday. In fact, when the Raiders first got the ball back um, in the fourth quarter, I mean, I don't know. They had the lead. Yeah, when the Raiders got the ball back initially with like a 5 or 4 point lead. No, maybe it was like a 3 point lead, whatever it was. Yeah, 3 point lead. And they get the ball with like 11 minutes left. I literally laughed out loud, watched them choke this game away to my dad because I just foresaw like they need to get a touchdown to get up 2 possessions. They end up kicking the field goal. They go up 6 points. Bears get the touchdown. They're up 1 point. And then look what happens, right? Like I was laughing at it. The final kick got blocked and I literally laughed. Like I'm just at that point now where that Washington game just broke me. And now I'm just like, I'm here for whatever. I just want to see Gianti explode. I want to see legendary games from Max Crosby. That's all I care about now. So, hey, if they can somehow make the playoffs, awesome, but I don't believe they can. Not with Geno at quarterback right now. They need a better offensive line. They need Geno to lock the fuck in. So let's see what happens on Sunday. But I got the Colts.
There you have it. We both have the Colts in this game. The numbers did say he thinks that the Raiders will beat the Colts. So if they do, we will give a shout out to the numbers on the next podcast. I just want to give a quick thank you to Frank Weber, Will, the numbers, brand_new. I'll just say brand new. And anybody else who tuned in. I don't think that I missed anybody else who commented, but we definitely appreciate you guys tuning into the live streams and leaving comments for us, even if you just watched it live and didn't comment, or if you're watching it after the fact. We always appreciate that you guys take the time to just listen to us talk about football. So it means the world to us, and we should be good to go next week with another episode, probably on Monday again, right, Mike? The Raiders play on Sunday, right? So we'll probably aim for Monday.
I think Monday can be done.
Yeah, but if not, I mean, just stay tuned. I always say that, like in the announcements. If for whatever reason we have to switch it and can't do it Monday, I'll post an announcement so you guys either look out for live video maybe around the same time, or maybe even earlier. It kind of depends on Mike's work schedule, right? We might be able to get it done early in the day.
Actually, yeah, Monday should be good.
Yeah, so
I'm off. So.
As long as it's good with me, because I have a lot of things in my life right now shifting around. Don't really think I'm going to talk about it, just yet. But Will says, "Hell yeah, good shit, boys." Appreciate it, Will. Appreciate everybody. Hope you guys all have a great night, and we'll catch you next week. It was a great episode. Mike, last words?
Go football.
Go football.